Good afternoon, everyone. And happy Friday Eve. It is Friday Eve. It's a good thing. It could be Monday, it could be Tuesday Eve. So, I want to introduce to you Mr. Bill Wodowski. Some of you guys have seen Callie and Bill in your classroom. He's been doing drug searches for us, which actually have been improving. The kids are not bringing quite as many drugs. But it's improving. Improvement works. But Melissa and I saw his presentation at El Camino, and we thought it had a lot of good information, and it's stuff that you guys don't see as teachers. And it's things that the kids hide, places the kids hide drugs that could be right under your nose that you don't see because you don't know about it. So I thought this would be a good professional development for your own information at school, and as well if you have teenagers or family members in your family and out in the community, because it's just not here in Birmingham, it really is everywhere. So I'm going to introduce Bill and let him take over.
Good afternoon, everybody. Little background, I am retired from the school police department. I've been retired for a number of years. I worked a lot of overtime over here about 15, 20 years ago. I was assigned at Reseda High for a few years. I've actually been all over the city. So I had to retire a bunch of years ago because I got injured and doing a couple of different things, and I accidentally found doing a canine handler. So besides being a cop, what qualifies me to be a canine handler? Training with the dog, additional narcotics and contraband training, and also just kind of liking dogs. Please, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. I do like to have an interactive kind of presentation because I don't like to just sit here and talk and talk and talk. I get bored listening to myself, and I can imagine you would too. Interquest Detection Canines is a private company. 3 of our 6 handlers, we have 6 full-time handlers. We are retired police officers from different agencies. Our dogs, we use passive alert dogs that are hunting breed, that are non-aggressive. We like to use non-aggressive dogs because when you walked in here and you saw Callie, who's a 2-year-old Labrador, oh, she's cute. If I were to have been sitting here with a German Shepherd, you might not have thought so cute. Interesting dog to be on a school. The other thing we like is we like to have a happy dog, and we keep them happy. Our training is positive reinforced based, normal obedience training, and then we go into training them as far as alerting and not destroying anything that they're checking out. In order to do that, Callie actually started when she was 2 months old. She was raised and went through normal obedience training, and then was given a toy, a towel, and it smelled like marijuana. So they played fetch with her, and so she associated the scent with a toy, and then they hid the scent in a locker or in a box and had a bunch of boxes laying out. And when she found the scent, her behavior would change, and they teach her to sit. So sniff, sit, and then they get to play with a toy. It's the same thing with cocaine, heroin, any of the illegal stuff. That's how we train them. One of the other things about our firm is that we are allowed and authorized by the Department of Justice to use live narcotics, Schedule 1 and 2 narcotics, for training of the dog. We don't have to use synthetic things, so they are trained on live, real stuff. When you see me walking around the school, I will not have any of that stuff with me. So there's no chance that I bring it here. During the time that we're here, though, I will reward her, and usually I'll put out a piece of cotton that smells like one of the odors she's trained on, and when she finds it, she sits, and I throw her her toy so that she can get rewarded. The reason for that is because if we don't reward her, she's going to sniff, 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 and not get any reward. Why am I going to sniff? And she's going to stop. Okay? Stop that. She is a dog. Callie is actually one of the youngest we've ever put in the field. She was put in the field just before she turned a year old. Her birthday was in October. Now she's 2 years old. She lives with me and my family and is treated as a member of the family when we're not working. So she's in the house. She does whatever she does as a normal dog would do, except when I get home from work. I don't even call this work because she thinks she's playing all day. I do put her in a kennel that's huge. It's 30 by 12, so that she can rest. Because most dogs sleep throughout the day and she's awake. Okay. I don't mind if people want to pet her, as long as usually it's when we're done with what we're doing. So if the kids want to pet her, usually I'm going to say it's okay. I don't like people just walking up to her and just starting in because I just don't like that. She is really curious, as you can tell. We have, what happens when we go into the classroom, if you haven't experienced this yet, is Birmingham has quite a team. Usually I walk around with 1 or 2 people. We walk around with a minimum of 6. 2 administrators, 2 deans, and 2 campus aides. And what happens is they go into the classroom. I usually wait outside. They'll go into the classroom, they'll say, hi, we're here to conduct a safety inspection, or whatever they're going to say, and then Birmingham offers the kids the opportunity to go ahead and say, I have this, so that they can deal with them ahead of time. Now,
Birmingham needs to be played too.
Callie is not just a dope dog, even though this picture says differently. This was at one of my clients. The door was actually at one of my clients. I took that picture about 3 weeks ago. The health class was doing narcotics. The teacher had decorated the door, so I thought, okay, cool, dope dog. She's a contraband dog. And what makes her a contraband dog is that, yes, she's trained on all the narcotics, Schedule 1 and 2, so marijuana, cocaine, heroin, amphetamines, all of that stuff. But she's also trained on alcohol, gunpowders, and a bunch of prescription pain medications, and opiates and things like that that are abused. So that's what turns her into a contraband dog. Our primary clientele are schools. Secondary, our biggest client individual client is LA County Probation. We also do things with other agencies. We've been part of different task forces that go around and do stuff. When she finds something, she sits, as I said before. She's kind of calm right now. If she gets a little uppity or whatever, I have something that's hidden in plain sight that she found a little over a month ago in a kid's backpack. And usually I'd hide it better, but it just happens to be the configuration of the room. And I may just stop and let her go find it so that I can reward her, and she'll kind of sit around. Pretty well behaved right now. Any questions? Now, as far as faculty is concerned, we have had incidents in the past where the dog has alerted on faculty stuff. Keep in mind that what you probably have is okay for you to have, but it's not okay for a kid to have. So if you have, I have a story of 2 years ago, the dog I had alerted several times on a specific teacher's bag. It didn't matter what bag she had, that dog alerted on it. And it was a small private high school. And at the end of the year, they asked her what she had in there. And she told, they told her the dog alerted on your bag several times throughout the year. We just didn't want to bother you with it. The teacher said, oh, I thought you kept the dog away from my stuff, my desk, or around my stuff. The dog wasn't trained on what I have, or the dog's broken. Well, if the dog's broken, I need to know that, It turns out that she had Vicodin in her bag because she has a chronic pain problem. So it's okay for her to have it, If by chance my dog alert, and you know, I've had incidences in the past where there's been a lunch bag, but it was taken on a picnic to the Hollywood Bowl and the wine spilled in it and the dog got, it happens all the time. Not necessarily with faculty, but it does happen where there's a residual odor. It's called a residual odor on a bag that the dog picks up on and is trained on, so she'll alert. If there is an alert on one of your things, I am stop. Cal. No. If there is an alert, I'm not going to be dealing with that at all. That's something that the school will be dealing with. And like I said, normally it's just like, yeah, I was at the Hollywood Bowl and wine spilled on it, and I do not intentionally say, bless you, sorry. I do not intentionally go check that desk. No. When we go into the classroom, we do the whole room. We do the perimeter of the room, we do inside, we go up and down the rows so that they check the kids' backpacks. At the end of the slideshow, I have pictures of some of the things that we found since we started the program here a couple of months ago. I don't have pictures of everything.
We have stuff.
Oh, he has stuff, how about that? It has turned out that as the program, we were discussing this afternoon, the Birmingham program has really taken hold quickly. It starts off where we normally get a bunch of alerts, we get a bunch of kids, and the word gets out. And it usually takes a while before we're not getting that many alerts, and it's a preventative program. Now, the other thing that the dog alerts on is gunpowder and fireworks. So this is also a safety issue. It's not about let's go get the kids with the dope. It really is about if there's something here on campus that happens to involve gunpowder or something like that, or a low-level explosive like that, we find it. Okay? Mostly, we in the community are not going to make an explosive device out of C4 or any of that stuff because we don't have access to it. Most of the things are going to be made out of things that are readily available. Like I said, the gunpowder and firework projections and stuff like that. So, any questions? Callie, come here.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
If, because marijuana has now been legalized
Right.
in the state of California, how will that work on campus here?
Well, even though marijuana has been legalized in the state, it is for 21 and over.
Right.
So the campus rules do not change. In fact, if you have a student here, if you have a student here that's 18 and has a medical card, they still can't bring it to school. So the rules for the school have not changed. She's smelling all that. Cal, go get it. Go get it. Anybody afraid of dogs? No. Okay, so I won't let her go that way. Cal, go get it. Good girl. Go get it. Good girl. Okay. That's all she does. She sits when she finds it. And that's just a regular toy that you can get at the retail store that she plays with. Okay. Any other questions regarding the program, anything like that? Now we're going to, not only are we going to classrooms, we're searching, going by, checking lockers, probably going to do students' cars at some point, common areas. It's not just the classrooms. It's, you know, the gym locker rooms, all of that stuff. 3 weeks ago, I was at a private school up in Santa Barbara, really small school. We were in the boys' gym. She caught odor and kind of found it, and we ended up finding it 7 feet up in the windowsill over the shower. A gram and a half of marijuana. So, I don't know if word got out that we were there, I don't know, but anyway. Any other questions or concerns regarding the program? Quick story. Last year, one of our other dogs named Lucky, who's a German short-haired pointer, alerted on a kid's backpack at a public high school. And Normally what happens is we'll take them, that particular school takes the student to the office, and the handler explains what the dog finds and asks, if there's any reason why the dog would alert on the shirt. So the handler said, hey, the dog alerts on all the illegal stuff, marijuana, cocaine, da-da-da, alcohol, gunpowders, and the kid said, gunpowder, I was shooting the other night. And the handler said, oh, did you go to the range? And he says, no, I did a drive-by. The handler said, okay, and stopped talking. It turned out that he was wearing the shirt that was in that backpack. And on the shirt was the gunshot residue from the gun that he had fired that night. And it turns out that, yes, he was involved in a drive-by, and he and a couple of others are awaiting trial on that now. On a residual odor. Okay, that's that's gunpowder on the shirt. A lot of the time we'll get what's called a residual odor, which means that it was on there or something was in there, but now it's not. And it happens. I had a plant manager at a boarding school that we service. We were walking through the parking lot, and the dog alerted on his car. And it turned out that he had been shooting, and the targets and the spent shell casings were in the back seat. So, there's all kinds of stuff that happens. Okay. We'll get into a little bit about the narcotics now. We'll at the end. I probably should have put it at the beginning, but at the end I've got some pictures, and I think you have probably everything I've got pictures of that we found here. What we want to do is, where'd that come from? Learn about how some of the drugs are used, symptomology of it. We'll look. We're not going to do the gang part on this. Drugs are about money, plain and simple. Not necessarily the average kid, because they just want to get high. But when you're talking about other zones, toy squeaks. When you're talking about other zones, it's about money, above the average kid, whatever the narcotic is. Also, where you're going to find narcotics, you're going to find weapons. They are going to be around. The most commonly abused drugs in our area are inhalants. Jimson, no, not so much here. However, I had a parent. I was doing a presentation like this over at a school in East LA, and one of the parents has the Jimson tree in his yard. So that was interesting. Energy drinks, marijuana, methamphetamine, cocaine, ecstasy, and Molly are basically the same thing. And the DXM, that's cough syrup. Inhalants, common stuff. And what the kids are doing is they are spraying it on a towel and inhaling the fumes. When I was at Grant High School about 17 years ago, I was on my way out to lunch supervision.
Please excuse the interruption. Will the owner of a Ford Edge Silver parked in the softball field please remove your vehicle? You are double parked. Once again, the owner of a silver Ford Edge SUV parked in the softball field section, please remove your vehicle. You are blocking.
So I went out to do lunch supervision, and these kids were walking by, and I hear shh, shh. I'm like, what's going on? And I turn around, and this one kid, they are walking. The one kid has got his head in the other kid's backpack, and he's huffing. Hey, come here. Oh, I put your toy away. Sorry. Yeah, good girl. Yeah, who's the handler, right? Callie, come here. Good girl. Yeah, who's on what end of the leash? Sometimes I wonder. I went and did every year at the beginning of the year, Granada Hills High is one of our clients as well, and I went over there to do a presentation on the program, about a 5-minute presentation just on what's going to happen with the program. And the assistant principal said, well, we've got kind of a dog and pony show. If that's the dog, what does that make me? So, back to inhalants. So the kid had his head inside the other kid's backpack and was huffing. It's called huffing. While they were walking to go to lunch. Kind of, go figure. air fresheners, lighter fluid, paint thinner. Now, when I was a kid, when this first started, somebody decided to, there were actually a few people decided to try to huff PAM. Not a good idea because it coats the lungs and suffocates you. And it happened to a bunch of people way back when. Anything, you know. Some of the terms are huffing, whiffing, poppers. Now the NOS, now you see the Ready Whip on there, the gas that projects the Cool Whip or the Ready Whip, that's what they're inhaling. They keep it upright and just suck up the stuff. Not a fun thing. Now some of the symptoms of this are nystagmus, which is when, if you were to sit there and move if you follow the finger, when they do this, when you follow the finger, when your eye gets all the way to the end, it should sit there. But somebody who's on this, and nystagmus, is the eye is going to twitch when it gets to the end. So you go like this, and it's going to twitch. Some of us have that naturally because of injuries or whatever. They're going to look like they're intoxicated. They may hallucinate if they've been using it a lot. Slurred speech. They're going to have sores around their mouth. The symptoms can last usually 15 minutes to an hour. And they may have a headache or get nauseous, and they may throw up. Jimson weed, as I talked about, is not too prevalent in the area, but the trees are. They're not using it as much as in some areas. Now, what some of the slang terms are hell's bells, angel's bells, devil's trumpet, a few other things. What they do is they chew the seeds of the leaves. They make tea out of it. There is a medical use for asthma, cramps, and diarrhea. Within the first 2 hours, up to 24 to 48 hours it can last, depending on how much they've taken and how they've taken it. Okay. They ended up with blurred vision, incoherent speech, rapid heartbeat, coordination's going to be off, their skin's going to be weird, they may have a seizure, they could go into cardiac arrest. And it's just sitting in yards. You see this all over the place. But for some reason, I guess luckily in our area, they haven't figured it out. Hopefully they don't. Energy drinks with alcohol. This became a big issue not too long ago. It's gone down a little bit because you've got the Four Loko and the Rockstar 21. It really is, when you look at this thing, it really is kind of interesting. They market it. Teens are going to pick it up. It's designed, when you look at that can, when you look at those cans, it looks like an energy drink. It really does. Okay, it's actually malt liquor. The label that talks about the alcohol content and whatever, and the caffeine content is small, like normal, so you can't really read it. The liquor store people or places that you're going to buy it might just think it's one of the energy drinks and swipe it. This was going on, you know, they've got new regulations and stuff regarding this, and it's not, I don't think it's sold here anymore, I could be wrong. You do need to be 21 to get it because it is alcohol, and it contains various levels of alcohol depending on which one you get. This is kind of interesting. A 23.5-ounce container contains 11% alcohol, and the standard beer has 3 to 5%. So you're talking a lot. And so equal to 3 beers and 8 cups of coffee at the same time. So you're pulling yourself. I mean, you're just, which way am I going to go? You know, you're talking about the caffeine, which is a stimulant, and then you're talking about the alcohol, which is a depressant, so you're pulling on yourself. You know, it's almost, yeah, like a speedball. Now, what everybody's been talking about lately, marijuana. Cute dog. We all know weed bug, chronic, kush. Recognizing the user. We've all seen, by the way, don't automatically think that somebody, and I tell this to parents, don't think your kids are coming home and they're doing this or they're doing that, because sometimes they're just sick. Or they have an allergy thing going on, okay? So just because one of your students comes in, but this is something very important, you know your students. You know when Johnny walks into that classroom and he's not normal. You might. You know, and you'll be able to tell when Johnny or Jamie is not acting right. You know, and that's the time, pick up the phone or however you guys communicate here. Call down to the office if you don't think they're right. You can tell that, you know, any one of the signs, the pupils are large like this one. This is just stuff normally that they have. They're going to have rolling papers, their seeds. They're going to smell. Marijuana is like one of the most potent smells that you can have. The eyes are going to be bloodshot, pupils are going to be dilated. You know, they're going to look sleepy. And as you've seen by kids that have been high in class, they have reduced motivation and they're going to usually kind of be a little slow. Their coordination is going to be different. What happened here? That's interesting. Dry mouth, they're going to have the eyes, coordination's down. They may hallucinate depending on how much they've had. They're not going to, the convergence isn't going to be really good. They actually mail it now. You can go through FedEx and all that stuff, and it's not FedEx or the Postal Department or UPS's fault, but you know, you can send it out, and you know they're not scanning every little place. Grow House was the last couple of pictures here. There's something else about this. Edibles. This is actually, you can't, I don't know if you can see it too well, but Scooby's eyes are bloodshot. These were, Callie got these last school year, beginning of the school year, in a kid's backpack at a different high school. And we had 4 hits in one classroom. First classroom we went into at that particular school. So all the administrators were busy, and I was kind of bouncing back and forth between the offices, talking to the kids and the administrators, and one of the administrators comes up and says, "Hey, your dog alerts on Scooby snacks." And I said, "My dog does not alert on Scooby snacks." He says, "Oh, on these he does." And he was right. The real problem with edibles is when you have a candy bar, and towards the end there's pictures of what some of them that we've gotten here. You know, when you think about the typical chocolate bar, it has 8 little squares on it or something like that. An edible dose is one of those squares. But how many of us eat one of those little squares? Okay, so they actually take way too much, and it becomes a problem. You know, cookies, how many of us can have just one? And the degrees of THC, there's what they're talking about now, medical, is called the CBD component, which is the medical aspect, and the THC is what gets you high. And the THC levels vary. This morning, one of our handlers got, was it cookies? I saw a picture really quickly on my phone because we send these things out. Got a little bag of cookies today, and you don't know exactly what, the kids don't know exactly what the level of THC is in them, and they were homemade. So sometimes we'll get an alert on a kid's backpack and all there is in there is food, but then when we start looking at it, we realize that no, those cookies or those brownies are actually THC brownies. Because she won't alert on food, she won't take anybody's food. By the way, if you have a donut sitting on your desk, I'll grab that, she won't.
Now, I'm going to show my ignorance. Scooby snacks, are they normally regular and but they've been doped up, or?
No, you're not showing your ignorance, and that's actually a good thing because there is a dog snack brand of Scooby snacks that are for dogs that are regular dog treats. These are, yeah, you can, these are specifically made and manufactured by that company, and they're nicely packaged. Cal, here, good girl.
They're not dog snacks.
Yeah, these are not dog snacks. Sit, Callie, sit. Yes. Yeah. Methamphetamine. That's the big thing lately. It's on the rise. It's just different ways it looks. You got crystal, you've got powder. You've got a couple different ways that they're packaging it. I have to change the picture that's coming up on the next slide. I inherited this slide and I've been editing it as we go, but I keep on forgetting to take her out. Some of the slang terms are our speed glass, eyes crank. Recognizing the meth user, okay? They're not going to sleep too well. You won't see that here with your kids, but they're not going to sleep too well. They're going to talk all the time. They're going to be anxious, nervous. They're going to be moody or irritable. The meth is methamphetamine, so the amphetamine is an upper. Now, sometimes the dogs, depending on where we are and who the kid is, the dogs will alert on a kid's backpack and he's got ADHD medication in there, which is amphetamine based. So then that goes through the administrative channels so that it goes to the nurse's office where it should be, and it's handled that way. You know, they're going to feel confident and powerful. It could, you know, they could get aggressive. They are going to become uninterested in what usually interested them. Family, friends, gatherings, things they want to do. They can get really depressed, and because of the combination of stuff, it can lead to violent behavior. Ecstasy and Molly are MDMA. The MA is methamphetamine. So it's another version of it. Mollies have been making just a huge, X and Mollies have been making a huge increase lately. We did the Hard Music Festival in San Bernardino in August, and we took 7 dogs, 80,000 people for 2 days, each day. We didn't sniff everybody. We just kind of walked around and randomly, you know, let the dogs do their thing essentially. And we got mostly pot. Secondly was ecstasy and mollies. And you're talking mid-20s for the most part of people that are going to that thing. We got everything. Callie got everything that she's trained on, narcotics-wise, except heroin that day, those 2 days. And people were still having problems at that. They were I mean, you can't check 80,000 people with 7 dogs on, you know, 2 main gates to get in. And you know, a few people did not make it out of there that weekend. You know, recognizing the user, they're going to be really alert. They're going to sweat, dry mouth, they're going to be thirsty all the time. The heart rate's going to be up. They're going to be tired though, and they're going to clench their jaw and they're going to talk kind of like this. Okay? They're going to be cold when they shouldn't be. So, but just because Janie comes into class and she's wearing a down jacket and it's 85 degrees outside doesn't necessarily mean that she's a meth user, or, you know, but it could be. Once again, they're going to get agitated easily, and they're going to have an increased emotional response either way to things that you wouldn't think would be that way. Cocaine. A few different ways that they use it. Powder, rock. There's a brick in the picture here. At the end of last year, at a continuation school outside of Los Angeles County, if you notice, I don't like naming places because I keep everything as confidential as I can, and when I talk about Birmingham High School, I don't mention Birmingham. I just say a school in the valley because we have several, or I might just say in LA County. The last day we were at this particular school district in May last year, Kelly alerted on a kid's backpack, and not only did he have a few flakes of marijuana in an essentially empty container, he had powder and rock cocaine, and he is a 16-year-old kid. What's he doing with that? The powder was packaged, the rock actually I found in the bottom of the backpack because we go through everything. Slang terms, blow, powder, snow. You know, you can recognize the user because the pupils are going to be dilated. They're going to be restless. They're also going to get paranoid. They're going to talk a lot. The nose, you know, is going to run. They're going to be anxious. They're going to be hyper alert, and usually the pulse rate is going to be blowing. They are going to be going pretty quickly. I have a friend of mine who I thought was just an amphetamine or coke user, and it turned out that he never touched the stuff. He just is always on. So, you know, if you have one of these kids that's always on and always moving fast and all that, it might just be them. However, if you've got a kid who's normally speaking like I am now, and then all of a sudden starts really fast and talking all the time, and it's not normal, might be something you might want to call down to the office for and say, hey, come get little Johnny because something's not right with him today. And you know what? I always tell people, don't be afraid to make the call. I would rather make the call and be wrong than not make that call and be right. My son, turns out my son's friend, my son is 21, and last year he went to high school with this kid. It happens to be a friend of mine's nephew. He started using hardcore narcotics, all of it, in 9th grade. He just got into it. He went to ASU, they had to bring him home because he was doing so much and he was selling and it was a mess over there. His parents brought him home. Last year, his parents walked in. This is a kid who knows what he's doing because he's been doing it for 5 or 6 years. They heard his alarm going off and they went into his room to find out why he hadn't woken up, and he died with the needle in his arm. 20 years old. Make the call. You know, call down, hey, you know what, check out little Johnny, or I've always suspected that Susie's been doing this or whatever. Be wrong. That the administration here is not going to say, hey, Miss Smith called us and told us that Johnny's been acting weird. You know, we just had some concerns from some faculty or whatever here at the school, and we just wanted to make sure that everything was okay. The administration will handle it and handle it properly. Cough syrup. That's on the rise, and especially with certain people in the entertainment industry really promoting it. They go ahead and they mix it up. And oh, you know why it is that we can't buy Sudafed without showing an ID?
Right.
Because it is one of the components that they use because of the pseudoephedrine. I never say that right. Sorry. Some of the slang terms, Skittles, Dex, Drank, Purple Drank, they're going to be dizzy. They use this like alcohol. I mean, it's got alcohol in it. In fact, this morning,